Okay. Vandeyam Shri Guru Shiyata Paragamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavam Sya Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Saghana Raghunitam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savalutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Paran Sahagana Lalita Shivashikam Vidam Sya Om Jnana Timaranda Shakina Jana Shalakaya Chakshuram Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Gurava Bhistam Supurakam Guraganara Sisha Sambhushitam Chintya Chintya Samasta Veda Nipanam Shri Rupa Patanugam Govinda Abhidam Ujwalam Varatanum Bhaktyan Vidam Sundaram Mande Vishwa Guruncha Divyat Bhagavat Prem Noe Bija Pranam Devam Divyatanum Suchanda Varanam Balarka Chailanshitam Sandrananda Puram Sadeka Varanam Vairagya Vidyam Buddhim Sri Siddhanta Nidhim Subhakti Lasitam Saraswatanam Baram Bandetam Shubharam Mareka Sharanam Nyashishvara Shridaram Manchakopatarubhyasya Kripasindubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanibhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Namo Mahabaranyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namane Gauratavishe Namah. So we're hearing from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita by Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, translation and commentary by Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. And this is Madhya-lila chapter 19. The Lord instructs Srila Rupa Goswami. Text number 160. Shekajala Bhaya Upashaka Borijai Stabdhaya Mula Saka Baritena Pai. If one does not distinguish between the Bhakti Lata creeper and the other creepers, the sprinkling of water is misused. Because the other creepers are nourished well, the Bhakti Lata creeper is curtailed. So here, let's just say it like this. There was we heard the verse, Bharata Bhumite, Brahmanda Brahmite Kona Bhagavan Jeev Guru Krishna Prasadi Pai Bhakti Lata Bij. So, by the mercy of Krishna, one, after wandering for so many lifetimes, by the mercy of the Lord, one has contact with a spiritual master, and from the spiritual master one gets the seed of devotional service that one plants in the heart. And then by the watering process of chanting the holy names, that Bhakti Lata, that devotional creeper begins to grow from that seed. So here it's telling us that you have to be also vigilant, because while the Bhakti Lata creeper is growing, there are weeds, just out and out weeds that are growing with it. And these weeds we have to eliminate, because otherwise they'll take all the nutrients and they'll take all the everything that's, the watering process will go to those weeds instead of to the Bhakti Lata, the creeper of devotional service. Pratame upashaka koraye chedan tabi mula saka bori jai brindavan. As soon as an intelligent devotee sees an unwanted weed growing besides the original creeper, besides that Bhakti Lata, he must cut it down instantly, eliminate that weed. Then the real creeper, the Bhakti Lata, grows nicely, returns home back to Godhead, and seeks shelter under the lotus feet of Krishna. Premafal Paki Parim Mali Ashwadoi Lata Abalambi Mali Kalpavrikapai. When the fruit of devotional service becomes ripe and falls down, the gardener tastes the fruit and thus takes advantage of the creeper and reaches the desired tree of the lotus feet of Krishna in Goloka Vrindavan. The gardener is in this world and watering that devotional creeper, but the fruit is falling down of that person's devotional, service, produces, fruit from the Bhakti Lata. And that fruit is that fruit is very special. So the devotee can... Okay. Jai. Jai. Tahan se kalpa vrikar koraye seban suke prema faloras koreyashwadan. There the devotee serves the lotus feet of the Lord, which are compared to a wish-fulfilling tree. With great bliss, he tastes the juice of the fruit of love and becomes eternally happy. So, that fruit is, this is prema. One is getting that taste from that love of Godhead. So, and here it says that the lotus feet of the Lord are compared to a wish-fulfilling tree. So the Madhya-lila creeper is like a vine or a creeper that's growing and, adhering. That Madhya-lila creeper is adhering itself to the lotus feet of the Lord, to that vrika, and then growing there. Aita paramafal parama purusharta jara age trina tuya chare purusharta. To taste the fruit of devotional service in Goloka Vrindavan is the highest perfection of life. And in the presence of such perfection, the four material perfections, religion, economic development, sense gratification, and liberation, are very insignificant achievements. Okay. So we talked about this actually last night, because it was discussing about the topic of the Vedas, right? What was the exact topic? Maharaj, maybe you can straighten this. It's looking a little crooked, which is appropriate, but okay. It looks like it's slanted. But what was our topic last night? It was the Vedas, the fruit of the Vedas, or the wisdom of the Vedas. Okay. So we were mentioned these normal Vedic considerations of dharmarthakam and moksha, religion, economic development, sense gratification, and liberation. Those are normally what people may think of as being the Purusharthas, what the Vedas are given. But here it's mentioned that these are very insignificant achievements. Somebody becomes very pious, or somebody becomes very, very rich and wealthy. Well, we may ask them for a donation. Somebody becomes rich, pious and rich, well, we may ask them for a donation. And like it was said of Raghunath Das Goswami's parents, there's an example that, Govardhan and Hiranya Majumdar, they were very wealthy, and they were financing all the Vaishnavas. But Mahaprabhu told to Raghunath Das Goswami when he reached to Puri and he took shelter of Mahaprabhu there, Mahaprabhu said, well, you don't mind that I just say one joke about this situation, he said, the material nature and this whole material world is compared to a hole where people pass stool. And your uncle and your father are like two worms swimming in that stool and enjoying in that way. He said, but don't mind. So those are two of the achievements, piety and wealth. And then as described, Raghunath, he had Sundari. Said his mother said, well, he keeps trying to run away and go with Mahaprabhu. They stopped him. All the time they had 11 guards watching over him. So it was said, his mother said, why don't you just chain him up? Chain him to the table or something like that, or chain him to a chair or whatever they might have in the house. I don't know if they had chairs or tables, but she said, just chain him up. And then his father said, well, he should also already be chained, because he has so much riches, more than anybody can conceive. They were like the equivalent of billionaires. And he said he has a wife that's as beautiful as an apsara. The apsaras are very beautiful, right? So then Raghunath should be satisfied with that, but he wasn't. So then his father said, there's no use in chaining him up. Who can restrain someone who's become a madman after running after the Lord? How can you restrain him? But still, they endeavored. They endeavored by keeping 11 watchmen over him. Okay. And in liberation. All these things are considered not worthwhile achievements, but they are something that's mentioned as goals in the Vedas. But the real goal is the fifth, to achieve the lotus feet of the Lord and develop love of Godhead. That is the real goal. So, Urida Siddhi Braja Bijayita Satyadharma Samadir Brahmanando Guru Api Chamatkarayat Yevatavat Yavat Premnam Madhuripu Vashikara Siddho Sadinam Gandopi Anta Karana Sharani Pandatam na prayati. As long as there is not the slightest fragrance of pure love of Krishna, which is the perfect medicinal herb for controlling Lord Krishna within the heart. The opulences of the material perfections known as the siddhis, the Brahminical perfections, Satyasama, Titiksha, and so on. The trance of the yogis and the monistic bliss of Brahman all seem wonderful for men. So as long as you haven't developed love of Godhead, yes, you can be infatuated with this. See, here it mentions the fragrance of pure love of Krishna is the medicinal herb for controlling Lord Krishna within the heart. Or as it says in Brahma Samhita, Premanjana Churita Bhakti Vilochanena Santasadeva Hridayeshu Valokayanti Yam Shama Sundaram Achintya Guna Svarupam Govinda Mela Parusham Tamaham Bhajami. If you have eyes that are smeared with that ointment of love of Godhead, then you can see always within your heart Shishi Radha Krishna there in your heart. That's a nice place to have the Lord, as we heard previously when cleansing the Gundicha temple, to have the Lord very nicely in your heart, with clean heart of the devotee. Okay? But until you achieve that, then all these other things seem, they're very, very special, Material perfections such as the siddhis, the siddhis of the yogis. Somebody sees these siddhis like Lagima Siddhi. Oh, this great yogi, he's not even standing on the ground. He's floating in the air. Well, Devashish just came yesterday. He was floating in the air for hours. So that's not a big achievement. Just the yogi goes a couple feet off the ground, but he was thousands of feet in the air. And with maybe 200, 300 other people in the plane. The cities, and the Brahminical perfections, Satya, Sama, Titiksha, peacefulness. But as we also mentioned, Krishna Bhakta Nishkama Deva Shanta Bhukti Mukti Siddhi Kami Sakaliya Shanta. Without being a devotee of the Lord, you can't really achieve real peacefulness. It may make an outward show, but it's not really substantial. The trance of the yogis, the monistic bliss of Brahman, merging with the Brahman, all these things, not very substantial at all. Shuddha Bhakti, hoite hoi, prima utpana, ateva Shuddha Bhakti, kohaye lakana. When one is situated in pure devotional service, one develops love of God. Therefore, let me describe some of the symptoms of pure devotional service. Anyabhilashita shunyam, jnana karmadi anavritam, anukuyena krishnanu shilanam bhaktirutama. When first-class devotional service develops, one must be devoid of all material desires, knowledge obtained by monistic philosophy, and fruitive action. The devotee must constantly serve Lord Krishna favorably, as Krishna desires. So, we're leaving aside these things. Anyabhilashita shunyam, jnana karmadi anavritam. Both mundane activity and knowledge. So when I came to Srila Sridhar Maharaj's lotus feet, then he told me, he said, Bhakti has nothing to do with power, or he said with knowledge. But the only requirement, Anukulyena Krishna Nushilanam Bhakti Rutama, he said the only thing necessary is, of course, to surrender at the lotus feet of the Lord. So he told me that, but I said to him, but everyone knows that you are so wise and have so much knowledge, and you said Bhakti has nothing to do with power or knowledge. But we know that you have much knowledge. And he said, knowledge is like the minister that prostrates himself at the feet of Bhakti to serve him. So that was how Guru Maharaj answered me. Yeah. Anya Bansha, Anya Puja, Chadi Jnana Karma, Anukulye Sarvendriye, Krishna Nushilana. A pure devotee must not cherish any desire other than to serve Krishna. One should not offer worship to the demigods or to mundane personalities. One should not cultivate artificial knowledge, which is devoid of Krishna consciousness, and one should not engage oneself in anything other than Krishna conscious activities. One must engage all one's purified senses in the service of the Lord. This is the favorable execution of Krishna conscious activities. So, in the activities of our acharyas, we had, Srila Sri Maharaj, Srila Govinda Maharaj, we saw this constant engagement. And somebody could say, well, he did this or he said that. But one time it was said about, Srila Sri Maharaj said, even if he's reading the newspaper, that's as good as better than reciting from the Vedas. Because he has that consciousness within him all the time. Whatever Guru Maharaj and Govinda Maharaj are doing, it's always constantly in the service of the Lord. So, now, to have that quality, that's very good, because otherwise one may be even doing so-called devotional activities, but without the proper consciousness, that they are not having or not giving one the proper insight, the proper understanding. Therefore, chanting the holy name, chanting on japa. Normally we don't chant on japa until we get the holy name from our spiritual master. Then we'll chant on japa. But also, every time someone is given the holy name, they're told, avoid the offenses against the holy name. So, must be with that consciousness. E Shuddha Bhakti Iha Hoite Prema Hoy Pancharatre Bhagavate E Lakana Koi. These activities are called Shuddha Bhakti, pure devotional service. If one renders such pure devotional service, he develops his original love for Krishna in due course of time. Vedic literatures like the Pancharatras and Srimad Bhagavatam, these symptoms are described. So, I'm going to, this verse, which we just heard before, Anyabhilashita shunyam jnana karmadi anavritam anukuyena krishnanu shilanam bhakti rutama. We have in Calcutta our Krishnanu Shilanam Sangha. So I'm I'm going to ask Devashish Prabhu to briefly comment on this first. Briefly.
On this.
Anyabilashi too.
What is? So this Guru Maharaj used to give this verse many times. This famous verse from Bhakti Yoga Retreat, and quoted by others. It means that pure devotion, which is not tinged by anything else, which is devoid of any other motivation apart from Krishna's satisfaction. That is pure devotion. So, this is the essence of Krishna consciousness. And one time when some devotees they came to visit Guru Maharaj, and from across the river, and Guru Maharaj asked them. So they're always asking Guru Maharaj so many questions. But this day, Guru Maharaj wanted to ask them a question. And he asked them, what is Krishna consciousness? And they're all giving their idea. Someone said, what Srila Prabhupada taught us, that is Krishna consciousness. And Guru Maharaj was a little touched by that. He appreciated that. But they're telling so many different things, what is Krishna consciousness. And finally, Guru Maharaj, he gave his answer. And he said, Krishna consciousness is reality. And it would be good for you to become acquainted with that. So, we often think about Krishna consciousness as being, a process or a lifestyle or some, particular thing that we engage in. But actually, Krishna consciousness is reality. And as Guru Maharaj so beautifully said, Sri Krishna reality, the beautiful. We hear about reality, they say, the harsh reality of life, like wake up to the reality. But that kind of reality, who wants that? Who wants harsh reality? We want reality, the beautiful. And that is what Krishna consciousness means. What is real, but at the same time what is beautiful. Otherwise, well, what is the reason to live? Without beauty, without charm, without grace, without that kind of reality, then the harsh reality, then better to finish it. Better to finish your life if that's all that is the only prospect that is waiting for you. We are everybody thinking that life is just about, getting a mortgage and a lawn to mow. But there's something more important in life, something more vital, something more essential, and that is to understand who we are. And more than understanding who we are, what we are for. And what we are for is for Him. This is like the turning point in Krishna consciousness. So, we come to Krishna consciousness to think, like, how will this benefit me? If I adopt this process of Krishna consciousness, how will that benefit me in my life? Will it make me happy? Will it make me peaceful? Will it make me fulfilled? All of these things. And there's nothing wrong with that. Otherwise, why would we engage in it to begin with if there was nothing in it for us? Mm-hmm. But there comes a point when we have to understand that Krishna consciousness isn't about us. It's about Him. And it's always been about Him. And where we fit in, where is our place in our orbit around Him? That is the real fulfillment of life, to understand that I am for Him. If everything is existing to fulfill His purpose, and I am also part of Him, then that's also my purpose, to satisfy Him. everything else is just a detail. Then how do I satisfy him? When we come to this point, then we must find Sri Guru. Only Sri Guru can give us that understanding. In which way am I for him? And this is real Krishna consciousness, not with anything, as Maharaj said, not power, not knowledge, not any of those things, but only about his satisfaction. And that is the real purport of that verse, is that everything is meant to satisfy him, and everything else is a distraction. Everything else is a deviation from that. And when we come to this one point, that everything is for him, that means I am also for him. Then that's the beginning of real Krishna consciousness. So this is my...
I'm very happy that Devashish is with us, and we want to welcome him warmly. It is our good fortune that he is here in our Govinda Mela festival. Because I always think of Devashish as someone who can very nicely represent Srila Bhakti Rakak Sridhar Dev Goswami Maharaj and Srila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj. One thing I'll also add about what Devashish said, he said that he talked about when so-called one wakes up or comes to a stark or harsh reality. People say, what is it? Wake up and smell the tea leaves or something like that, whatever, like you're supposed to wake up to reality because you're... So there's a saying in Spanish that says that for one who lives in illusion, that person will die of disillusionment. So one is living in illusion, thinking, oh, I'm very happy with my nice, home and family and everything like that. And then somehow or other, that situation becomes disturbed by maybe some cataclysmic event, or someone dies in the family or something. So then the person becomes disillusioned. He was in illusion before. Oh, my happy, sweet home, sweet home. We say that's not really your home, sweet home. But anyway, the person is thinking like that. And then something happens, and then they become disillusioned. So we would think, okay, illusion before, and now disillusion. But no, disillusion is not reality also. It just means that the person has encountered from some false sense of reality to a more harsh sense of reality. But it's still illusion, whether it's illusion or disillusion. Why? Because negation of in this case, negation of a negative is not a positive. That's where the Mayavadis and everyone else, this is where they miscalculate. They think that this world is negative, so I will negate this world and then I'll be on the positive plane. No. You're just living out what it mentions in the Bhagavad Gita about traction and repulsion for the objects of the senses, but maybe in a more refined way. But you're disillusioned. Your disillusionment that you're saying, oh, everything's false. What I've experienced here is all not real. Yes. But, that doesn't mean you've awoken to reality. You've only become disillusioned. But the real, as Devashish has explained, the real reality is not being disillusioned, being bitter, being cynical about the world. The real illusion is that you will, come to the level of having a relationship with Krishna and serving within that relationship and developing some love for the Lord and the devotees. And that's the purpose of this Govinda Mela. We're not trying to give lessons on reality. Guru Maharaj mentions search for Sri Krishna, reality of the beautiful. That's what we're about. We're not looking for reality the ugly. But that's what people say. Oh, you people, you're serving some. I remember I was with one devotee. We went to a radio program, and the person on the radio program attacked him, attacked the devotee, and said, well, you know, your mission is taking people out from society who would be productive in society and making them useless. And what are you doing? Yeah. So the devotee said, you don't work, you know. The devotee said to that person, well, I think we work harder than you. That is, trying to give some spiritual understanding to a population which is totally materialistic. I think that's real work, he said. But what are you doing? You just sit here pushing around a cup of coffee and talking to people. I think we work harder than you. That did not endear himself to the announcer. But yeah. Anyway, I remember that program. And one incident I also remember thinking of that. Srila Prabhupada was on a program, and there was something that the announcer, you know, didn't always like some of the devotees' answers or something. So then that person said to Prabhupada, then what will happen if people do not take to your Krishna consciousness movement? And then he says, then you will again become hogs and dogs, like that. And the man abruptly ended the conversation and ushered the devotees out of that studio. And Prabhupada was in the car, and then he turned towards the devotees in the car, and he smiled, and he said, so what did you think of my answer? Anyway. Anya Bansha, Anya Puja, Chari Jnana Karma, Anukuye, Sarvendriye, Krishna Nushilana. A pure devotee must not cherish any desire other than to serve Krishna. He should not offer worship to the demigods or to mundane personalities. He should not cultivate artificial knowledge, which is devoid of Krishna consciousness. And he should not engage himself in anything other than Krishna conscious activities. One must engage all one's purified senses in the service of the Lord. This is the favorable execution of Krishna conscious activities. So, should not serve anyone other than Krishna, not worship demigods or mundane personalities. But at the same time, we are trying to propagate Krishna consciousness. And as Srila Govinda Maharaj would always quote from Mahaprabhu Sikshastika, Trinadapi Sunichena Taroriva Sahishnuna Amanina Manadena Kirtaniya Sadahari. So showing respect to others is one of those tenets. Humility, tolerance, offering respect to others. That will. So sometimes in talking to persons, we will, you know, we're not worshiping mundane personalities, but our interest is to, you know, give them something or have them have some interest in Krishna consciousness. And so we're doing that, you know. Often we'll see that we'll talk to somebody and maybe initially listen to them to see what is their viewpoint, you know. You want to be able to understand how to talk to that person. So, yes, good morning or good afternoon, how are you, you know, and then some conversation may ensue, and then you'll hear something, and then you can understand. Because Krishna consciousness is multifaceted, like you can see it from, you know, like a beautiful gem, you can see it from many facets, the different interests of persons. So, whether one is talking to, you know, somebody who's an aspiring devotee, or someone is talking to somebody who's practically an atheist, still one can engage in some conversation with them, you know. Eshuddha Bhakti, let's see. Eshuddha Bhakti iha hoite prema hoy pancharatre bhagavate elakana koi These activities are called Shuddha Bhakti, pure devotional service. If one renders such pure devotional service, one develops one's original love for Krishna in due course of time. In Vedic literatures like the Pancharatras and Srimad Bhagavatam, these symptoms are described. Sarvopari vinir muktam tatparat vena nirmalam rishikena rishikesha sevanam bhaktir uchate. Bhakti or devotional service means engaging all our senses in the service of the Lord, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the master of all the senses. When the spirit soul renders service unto the Supreme, there are two side effects. One is freed from all material designations, and one's senses are purified simply by being employed in the service of the Lord. Sarvopadi vinir muktam tatparat vena nirmalam rishikena rishikesha sevanam bhaktir uchate. Bhakti or devotional service means engaging all our senses in the service of the Lord, the master of the senses. When the spirit soul renders service unto the Supreme, there are two side effects. One is freed from all material designations, and one's senses are purified simply by being employed in the service of the Lord. So what are we offering to the Lord? We are offering flowers on the altar. Those flowers are growing here. In anyone's yard in this extended neighborhood here, they can all gather flowers, and so what? Flowers are everywhere. What makes them inherently spiritual? Of course, we see them as living entities, but I mean, they're being offered on the altar to the Lord. Then, by being offered to the Lord, then we will take those flowers. We'll put them on our head. Then everything is becoming engaged in the service of the Lord, and it's becoming, transformed. We can say transformed, right? Like that. Yes. So, where is it? One is freed from all material designations by serving the Lord, and one's senses are purified simply by being employed in the service of the Lord. So in the same way, when we're engaged in the service of the Lord, then we will become actually, we could say, come to the spiritual platform. And actually, that is the real meaning of approaching a spiritual master, getting the spiritual master's mercy, taking initiation from the spiritual master. That's what it means. That's the process which we've engaged in. That's what it means to offer oneself. Madguna shruti matrena mai sarva guhashaye manogatir avichena yata gangam bashom Buddho, just as the celestial waters of the Ganges flow unobstructed into the ocean, so when my devotees simply hear of me, their minds come to me, I reside in the hearts of all. Lakshanam Bhakti Yogasya Nirgunasya I Udaritam Haituki Abhya Vahita Ya Bhakti Purushottame. These are the characteristics of loving service to Purushottama, the Lord. It is causeless and it cannot be obstructed in any way. Salokya Sharsti Samipya Sarupyai Katvam Apiyuta Diyamanam Nagrinanti Vinam Sevanam Jana. My devotees do not accept Salokya, Sharsti, Sarupya, Samipya, or oneness with me, even if I offer these liberations in preference to serving me. So, we may see on the platform of the worship, for instance, or engaging in Vidhi Bhakti, we may come to the level of Vaikuntha worship. And on the level of Vaikuntha worship, those who are on that level may live on the same planet as the Lord. They may have a form similar to the Lord, etc. So here it's or the opulences of that divine plane, or like that. So we would say then then we see that, then why is it that these considerations are not really so much desired, or we could even in this verses mention acceptable to the devotees? Why is that? Because really what Mahaprabhu is giving is a little bit, we can say not a little bit, is much different than Vaikuntha worship. You know, Vaikuntha worship has the element of formality, it has the element of on-reverence, and I could say a little, like that. But even more important, that when we normally think of liberation, we think of the loss of one's individual identity. That is, that we want to maintain that identity for not false ego, but actually to become a divine servitor of the Lord. So the reason Srila Sridhar Maharaj, he talked about that. Well, he used the term even thrown down to Vaikuntha. That Mahaprabhu, what he is giving is to be able to awaken one's sense of love of Godhead, to function more on the plane of developing some actual attraction for the Lord and service of the Lord. Now, I'm not trying to say that doesn't exist on Vaikuntha, attraction for the Lord and service of the Lord. Obviously it does. But Mahaprabhu's process of attaining some, relationship with the Lord and serving the Lord is not based on mantras, on reverence, and all these kind of other formulas. But it's actually Mahaprabhu is giving, the plane of chanting the holy name, developing some attraction, because, as I mentioned once before, Govinda Mela said, as Westerners, we're not qualified for Vidhi Marg. He made that point. The devotees can't pronounce mantras. They don't have that ability generally. And they're not engaged in the formality. Even is mentioned by Govinda Maharaj, Guru Maharaj, that even the worship on the altar is not meant to be just formalistic. It's meant to not the actual requirements of worship, the Vidhi Marg that may be applicable to the altar. We're not supposed to let that actual development or we're following him, we're offering on time and everything like that, but still one is more interested in one's natural service relationship, and one may accept these other guidelines and everything that's mentioned, but they're not meant to obstruct one's actual worship of the Lord. Even the pujari on the altar is following rules and regulations, no doubt, but he's not following that process of Vidhi Marg. May seem to. So many things may seem to, but they're not actually on that level of, formality. Sa eva bhakti yogakya atyantika udarita yenati vraja trigunam mad bhava yo papapadyate. So somebody would say, oh, then you're saying that you're on the platform of, natural spontaneous affection for the Lord. You've developed Rag Marg. Well, if I said that I developed that, I mean, when I was young, if I told a lie, my mother would make me wash my mouth out with soap. She'd make me bite into a soap bar, which was very unpleasant. So I tried not to lie in front of her. So I would not want to state that, oh, are you on that platform? No. That is our worshipable ideal. That is above our heads. We're worshiping that. But Srila Sridhar Maharaj, he said, a person is known according to their ideals. So that just because I have an ideal, my ideal is not so cheap that I can just grab it. But it's still my ideal. Sa eva bhakti yogakya atyantika udarita yenati vraja trigunam madbhava yopapadyate. Bhakti yoga is described above as the ultimate goal of life. By rendering devotional service to the Lord, one transcends the modes of material nature and attains the spiritual position on the platform of direct devotional service. So what we're hearing is Mahaprabhu's instructions to Srila Rupa Goswami. Srila Rupa Goswami, as Mahaprabhu has been in Vrindavan, and there was, then he was brought by his devotees, Balabhadra and others. They brought him to Prayag. And then in Prayag, this Prayag is one of the places where they have, it was Makara Sankranti that time. So in Prayag at time of Makara Sankranti, so many people gather to bathe in the Ganges. So it was suggested to Mahaprabhu that because the devotees were afraid that Mahaprabhu was on a level of, he was so deeply absorbed in Vrindavan that the devotees thought that, we want to take Mahaprabhu out of Vrindavan because he may, he's rolling on the ground and over thorns and everything. You could say, to their viewpoint, he's oblivious of everything going on and submerging himself in the Jamuna. And so they're worried about Mahaprabhu, that stage of his. Mahaprabhu is either an external consciousness or deep spiritual consciousness, or half external and half spiritual. But when Mahaprabhu is in deep spiritual consciousness, like in Puri one time, he floated the whole night in the ocean. So the devotees were very worried. Where is Mahaprabhu? And finally, they find him, and he's like bleached by the water of the ocean. So naturally, those things are concerning. And then they said to Mahaprabhu, let us go to Prayag. Let us go there. So Mahaprabhu is agreeing always to the wishes of his devotees, and he goes with them. And I remember one time Govinda Maharaj, he said about Ratha Yatra. He said, in Ratha Yatra, there's devotees were just in Ratha Yatra. He said, Mahaprabhu already has the mood of Radharani wanting to take Krishna to Vrindavan, and he's dancing in ecstasy. But then Govinda Maharaj said, but Mahaprabhu is also dancing in ecstasy on the return Ratha Yatra, going back to Puri. So how is that? If he's dancing in ecstasy, taking Krishna to Vrindavan, then why is he in ecstasy, on the return trip of Jagannath? But he didn't give the answer. These are some of Govinda Maharaj's type questions, and it just makes you consider. But I remember reading when they were taking Mahaprabhu out of Vrindavan, it said when Mahaprabhu was leaving Vrindavan, he was in ecstasy, just thinking of Vrindavan. Just the remembrance of Vrindavan, he was in ecstasy. So, anyway, then Mahaprabhu was taken to Prayag to meet with, he was taken to Prayag on the reason of observing going there for Makara Sankranti. But when he got to Prayag, there was Rupa Goswami and Anupama, or Vallabha, Sri Vallabha. So that's the younger brother of Rupa Goswami, and they're in Vrindavan, and they're in Prayag. And when Mahaprabhu gets there, he's so happy to see Rupa Goswami, and for 10 days, Mahaprabhu instructs Rupa Goswami in Prayag. And this is what we're dealing with, these instructions. So who do we aspire to be? We're aspiring to be the followers of Srila Rupa Goswami. He's the leader of our sampradaya. That post was given to Srila Sridhar Maharaj by Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, the guide of the Rupanuga Sampradaya. And also we saw that in Srila Govinda Maharaj, the guide of that Sampradaya. So, these instructions are being given to Srila Rupa Goswami. And okay, so that's the nature of this chapter that we're reading. Seva Bhakti Yoga Kya Atyantika Udarita Yenati Vraja Trigunam Madbhava Yopapadyate. Bhakti Yoga is described above as the ultimate goal of life. By rendering devotional service to the Lord, one transcends the modes of material nature and attains a spiritual position on the platform of direct devotional service. Bhukti Mukti Adi Bansha Jadi Manihoy Sarama Korile Prema Utpanana Hoy. If one is infected with the desire for material enjoyment or material liberation, one cannot rise to the platform of pure loving service unto the Lord, even though one may superficially render devotional service according to the routine regulative principles. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur mentions that if one maintains within one's heart the desire to enjoy the result of good work, or being embarrassed by the material world, the desire to get out of material entanglement, one will never be able to attain the transcendental mellows, which means an actual entrance into devotional service. In other words, one must not desire material profit when rendering devotional service. Even if one follows all the 64 regulative principles, one cannot attain pure devotional service with a contaminated heart. Bhukti Mukti Spriya Yavat Pisachi Ridi Vartate Tavad Bhakti Sukasyatra Katam Abhyudayo Bhavet. The material desire to enjoy this world and the desire to become liberated from material bondage are considered to be two witches, and they haunt one like ghosts. As long as these witches remain within the heart, as long as these witches remain within the heart, how can one feel transcendental bliss? As long as these two witches remain in the heart, there is no possibility of enjoying the happiness of devotional service. And what are these two witches? Bhukti and Mukti. Bhukti means enjoyment, and Mukti means liberation. If that's your desire to enjoy this world or to be liberated from the world, that is like that desire is like these two witches are inside your heart. And that's not a very good situation. One will not be able to actually attain devotional service as long as one is being, we can say, enchanted. What's the word? Not enchanted, but haunted. Yes, that's what's mentioned here. Haunted by these two witches within one's heart. Sadhana Bhakti Hoite Hoy Ratera Udai Rati Ganda Hoile Tara Prema Nama Koi. By regularly rendering devotional service, one gradually becomes attached to the Lord. When that attachment is intensified, it becomes love of Godhead. Prema Bridi Kraminam Snehamana Pranoi Raganu Ragabhava Mahabhava Hoy. The basic aspects of prema, when gradually increasing to different states, are affection, which is sneha, mana. Here it's mentioned abhorrent. I'll read the verse and then the translation, then I'll ask for some commentary here. The basic aspects of prema, when gradually increasing to different states, are affection, abhorrence, love, attachment, further attachment, ecstasy, and great ecstasy. Now I'll ask Chagi Maharaj. He has a Bengali in front of him. You can, this is text number 178. Say something, because normally if we hear these these words, affection, abhorrence, love, attachment, further attachment, ecstasy, and great ecstasy, and just briefly say, what is this terminology? What are we hearing about here?
Maharaj, I'm not able to do that. I mean, each of these terms has technical meaning that's defined in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Some of those Sanskrit verses are given in the commentary, but to really give the exact nuance of the significance.
Yeah, it's very hard, but I mean, First of all, okay, affection we can understand. Abhorrence, mana. What is that abhorrence?
I mean, to really say Maharaj properly, I'd have to go
Well,
through
sometimes
the
we
definitions
hear,
and
I
put
believe
yourselves
sometimes
in
we
there.
hear about mana as being like jealousy, you know, or something that one may be felt, you know. I mean, they're very technical or high terms, but at the same time, there are things that will be experienced or shown by someone who's come to that level of love of God. So, affection, you can understand some affection for the Lord. Abhorrence, then, you know, I won't talk about that so much either, but we can see something in the description of, you know, the Sikshastika. Yeah.
If you want, here in another place in the Anubhashya, where Mon is mentioned in Madhya 2, then Saraswati Thakur quotes even in the Ujjal Nilamani. And he says that definition means that when the heart melts due to an intense and having had the experience of ever fresh madhurya, or this, however you want to take that, ever fresh madhurya is being tasted, and that is causing the heart to melt, but at the same time one externally hides the particular feeling or bhav that one has at this time, and externally exhibits some deceitful or opposite behavior to what they're actually feeling. That is called mama.
Anyway, this the reason I'm asking, if we hear about affection, then we hear the term abhorrence, and just hearing that, these are aspects of prema, but we want to be able to, you know, just have, even if it's can't be precisely explained, still, what does it mean, abhorrence? You know, that's something that we want to understand. Then attachment, then further attachment, then ecstasy, and then Mahabhava. Mahabhava, it says Rasa Raj and Mahabhava. That Krishna is, you know, all rasa, he's the enjoyer of all rasas, and Srimati Radharani is Mahabhava. So, Jaichi Bijay Eku Rasa Gura Kandasar Sharkara Shita Mirchari Uttamam Micharyar. The gradual development of prema may be compared to different states of sugar. First there is the seed of the sugar cane, then sugar cane, and then the juice extracted from the cane, which we might call molasses. When the juice is boiled, here it says, pardon me. I'll start again. The gradual development of prema may be compared to different states of sugar. First there is the seed of the sugar cane, and then the juice extracted from the cane. When this juice is boiled, it forms liquid molasses, then solid molasses, then sugar candy, rock candy, and finally, it says lozenges, but we can say crystallized, fully crystallized sugar candy. Vishaka, she knows something. She can say something about this development of sugar here.
These are very high topics. I think I better keep my mouth closed.
Okay. The graduate. Well, anyway, at least we can understand what is how the sugar is being, we can say, more and more condensed, intensified. I can't comment on these things either, but I did remember when I was in India. I forget what was the name of that. There was some product, some palm rock candy, etc. You know.
Dulaos, maybe. Oh, you sannyasis wanted, Maharaj. I was always running to the.
What was that?
Dulaos, palm candy.
And it was very big, crystallized. You know, like this at first it had gone through the molasses and all that. And then when the crystals grow very much, I have had some experience once of, how things can grow and become more and more crystallized. But I won't go into that experience, but I saw that this can be the result of the complete condensation development, the full development of the sugar, okay? Esab Krishna Bhakti Rasa Stayibhav Stayibhave Mili Jari Vibhavanubhav. All these stages combined are called Satyabhav, or continuous love of God, and in devotional service. In addition to these stages, there are Vibhav and Anubhav. Attachment for Krishna never wanes. It increases more and more as one attains different stages. All the stages together are called Stayibhava, or continuous existence of ecstasy. The 9 forms of devotional service are Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, Parasevanam, Archanam, Bandhanam, Dasham, Sakyam, Atmanivedanam. When continuous love of God it is mixed with the process of devotional service, it is called Vibhava, Anubhava, Sattvika, and Vyabhichari. The devotee thus enjoys a variety of transcendental bliss. In his Amrita Pravaha Bhashya, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur states that Anubhav can be divided into 13 categories: dancing, rolling on the ground, singing, yelling, jumping, making loud noises, yawning, heavy breathing, not caring for public opinion, discharging saliva, roaring laughter, unsteadiness, and hiccuping. Thus, the transcendental mellows are experienced in different stages. Similarly, there are many other forms of expression that have been analytically studied by the Goswamis. In the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Rupa Goswami gives each and every symptom a particular name. So, I don't pretend to understand everything that's mentioned here, but these are the developments which you will see in a very highly developed, devotee who is actually on that platform of love of Godhead, but not to be imitated. If it's imitated, it becomes abominable, it becomes ludicrous, it becomes, worthy of derision, And as far as the terms, it's true, the terminology being used here is that of but what is being explained is the development of stages of devotional service. So we can understand here is an example being given of the development of sugar, how it starts out just the seed of the sugar cane, and then the juice of the sugar cane. Now, without being a sannyasi, people have drank sugar cane juice. Right, yeah. They've taken sugar cane juice. And then that sugar cane juice can become boiled and develops. And what does it become? Molasses. And then more solidified, it will become, what is it called? Gur, solid sugar. And then further developed, it can be, as we would normally say, refined or processed. But it's just talking about the formation of sugar crystals. The sugar crystals, the sugar is, coming to a stage of being crystallized, is becoming more, if the example is to give us the idea of more intensified. Everything is becoming more intensified. And that is the example of the sugar cane, how it's becoming more intensified. Jai. Sripad Bhakti Chandan Parvat Maharaj ki Jai.
Jai Shri Guru Garanga Gandharva Kakiri Dari Chu ki Jai.
So happy that, there's a seat there.
Yes, Maharaj. No. It's
And
not
then
my
there's one behind you too.
seat. This is my seat.
But we're very happy to have that Parvat Maharaj has come downstairs. He for a long time, for more than 1 month, he was in the hospital, and he's recently come with us, and we're praying for his well-being. His condition is, worthy of concern. So anyway, I'm going to stop here. We'll continue with the discussion tomorrow. Does anyone wish to add anything? Any of them are worthy persons? Okay, now is there any questions? Any questions that anyone has? No. It's true. These are obviously what's being taught to Rupa Goswami is explaining in such literatures as Ujjvala, Nilamani, etc. But we don't have any entrance to that. We're not capable of opening that book or reading it. Because it is very exalted literature. So you saw when I asked questions to the Vaishnavas, naturally they deferred, I don't feel like I'm capable of commenting on these things that are being said to Srila Rupa Goswami by Mahaprabhu. And there are so many things I cannot comment. But being, I'll say, if nothing else, being of somewhat of a naughty nature, there are some things I want to understand. I don't want to read the Ujjvala Nilamani, but at the same time, I want to, I'm hearing terms like, attachment, further attachment, abhorrence. I want to, abhorrence. I want to understand something. What is it? What does it mean by abhorrence? What am I to become abhorred of? I don't have to worry about that. I'm never going to be on that level. But still, and it's a term, an abhorrence. You see, the problem here that what we're hearing is that these terms of Sanskrit and Bengali, there is no way of translating them really. But we can hear some explanation of the acharyas of what they refer to. And they're not within our terminology, just as some people translate prema as being love. But that is not really an adequate translation of prema. It may be a reflection of something that's inherent in the soul, but it's, the so-called love of this world. Maybe some kind of distant reflection, indicating there's something there which, something there real. And your experience, you say, you say there's no love, no real love, I remember I've given this example, and it's maybe really, I read one time where one sannyasi wrote an article about taking his mother to the Taj Mahal. And then he ultimately said that the Taj Mahal, what is it? It's just a monument to lust, because there is no love in this world. And I thought, my only question about that is, okay, in your harsh terminology, you can say there is no love in the world, and the Taj Mahal is just a monument to lust, and there is no love in this world. But why did you take your mother to the Taj Mahal? If it's all just lust, I don't think you have lust for your mother. But you took her to the Taj Mahal. Why? As an act of affection and an act of kindness, as a natural relationship which one is feeling. So we all feel something of those relationships in this world. We have some love for our father, mother, sister, grandfather, grandmother, uncle, and people ask me when it came to the lotus seat of Guru Maharaj, well, what do you do? You transfer your love, from this person to that person. What is it? What have you done? It's like, hello. I have here on the altar, we have many different deities. We have, Srila Govinda Maharaj, we have Srila Saraswat, we have Srila Guru Maharaj, Srila Sridhar Maharaj, we have Srila Saraswati Thakur, we have Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj, we have Bhakti Vinod Thakur. We have Jagannath Das Babaji. They're all deities. They're on the altar. Then we have deities of, Mahaprabhu, which is Gauranga Sundar. And then we have Gandharvika. And then we have Giridhari. And then we have Govardhan Shila on the altar. We have many deities. How can I only love? I'm only allowed to try and develop love for one of them? Within my heart, I can't have, as it's mentioned in the scripture, multiple gurus. That Diksha Guru is one, and Siksha Guru may be many. So, these kind of questions are lacking of understanding of what is really meant by, So you may perceive, and we may perceive in this world some reflections of reality. And we may see that as some familiar affection that we have for our, children or our loved ones, etc. So I'm not going to deny the existence of those things. To everyone in this world, if you try to deny that, I believe you will look very foolish in doing so. And then you're, to me, then you're not going to prosper very well in trying to explain things to others. So in this way, I'm saying, so everything has some, we can try to see some inference of what is here to what is our so-called limited, view of this environment, view of reality, view of where we are living and what we are functioning with, and more importantly, in relationship with others. So anyway, I'll stop here, and now we'll have some kirtan, and then we'll have prasadam. Okay. Hari Hari. Nama Krishna Jaravaya Nama. Hari Hari Nama Krishna Jaravaya Nama. Jaravaya Maravaya Keshavaya Nama. Jaravaya Maravaya Keshavaya Nama. Govinda Ram Shimari Sudan. Govinda Ram Shimari Sudan. Jai Karasi Shri Guru Guranga Dharvika Giridhari Joki Jai Jai Om Vishnu Bhat Paramasa Paravijaka Charya
Show you.
Janardan.
Que estás ahí comiendo que no te comes la comida, comes que no vas a comer. Vamos.
Mira, te están filmando. Qué pena. Qué pena.
Harinam Sankirtan Jai. All the assembled devotees Jai. Sri Govinda Mela ki Jai. Sri Sripad Bhakti Chandan Parva Maharaj ki Jai. Srila Bhakti Ranjan Madhusudan Maharaj ki Jai. Sripad Bhakti Kamal Tyagi Maharaj ki Jai. Sri Devashish Prabhu ki Jai. Sri Vishaka Devi ki Jai. All the assembled devotees ki Jai.
Srila Bhakti Pavan Janardan Maharaj.